Hey YouTube, so the sound that you just heard is what I woke up to the day after Christmas, and that was a notification from my NAS that my hard drives were failing. So after panicking, doing some scrambling, I ended up going to my local Best Buy, picking up the hard drives that I needed to replace the unit. So what you can see here is I've got the new hard drives, getting ready to pull the hard drives out of the Synology that I already have. I've completely powered the unit down just to make it safe. Even though the unit I have, the hard drives are hot swappable, I decided to power it down just to make sure everything was good to go. So what I previously had in the unit was 2 3-terabyte hard drives. What I was able to find locally at my Best Buy was 4 terabyte hard drives. So that's what I ended up swapping these out with. So with the unit disconnected, with the faceplate pulled off, it was relatively easy to pull out the old hard drives. And as you can see here, I'm getting ready to swap those out so that way I can start porting my data over. So with the new hard drives installed into the bay 1, this is the bay that I started with, it was pretty much time to power up the unit and make sure I could get in position to be able to start swapping the data over. And the first indication that things are going good is after powering the unit up, I'm now getting a solid green light for disk 1. However, my status is still blinking yellow, which is expected results at this point because I need to fix the corrupted volume still. All right, after allowing the unit to fully boot up, as you can see, I have a light for the LAN unit as well as disk 1. It was now time to log into the disk station and get ready to set up the new volume. So here, I'm logging into the station, clearing out some of the error messages from some of the previous things that we were doing to the NAS. And now it is time to create the new storage pool for my information, all the data that was on the other drive that was still accessible. I need a place for that data to go to. So here I am creating that new volume for the next RAID unit that I'm getting ready to install. All right, after getting the volume set up, we're ready to go, at least so I thought at this point. As you saw in some of the previous messages, the system is doing a drive check where it's looking for any bad sectors or anything like that on the new hard drive. So as you can see here, once I expand this, it's giving me the percentage at which the unit needs to do the volume check. All right, so I've actually skipped ahead a day because that previous process took a lot longer than I expected. I hadn't done this in years, and I forgot about how long this part of the process takes. So I roughly timed this, and it took about 12 hours for the unit to complete doing the drive check. So once again, this is a very lengthy process to get going. So once again, I'm going back in here, getting everything set up with the wizard and getting the storage pool now created. So that way we have a place for the new data to move to. So as you can see at the blue section at the bottom here, we have now the volume created. We have the pool created, which is actually what we need to start transferring the data over. All right, so now I'm going back in, looking at some of my shared folders, and now I can actually start to edit the location. So now you can see I now have a drop down that I can now move this particular folder to the next location that I've created, which is on the new hard drive. So I'm going to save that. It's going to give me a message here. Basically, you pretty much have to click this to say you understand what's going on here. You click that and you proceed. And now you'll start to get the option, you start to get the feedback from the system indicating that it's going to check the available space to make sure before it starts to move that there's actually room for it to move that information to. And then you start to get the estimated time for it to move that particular folder. All right, and here we are finishing up the very last folder to move to volume 2. All right, so with that part of the process done, so like I said, I bought 2 brand new hard drives. I've now transferred all the data off of hard drive 2, my old drive, to hard drive 1. So now we have all the data copied over. So now I'm starting the process of doing the RAID setup, doing the hot swap, which, like I said, my particular unit can handle. So I installed the second unit just so that way I can get the RAID and have 2 brand new 4 terabyte units. So after the hot swap, I decided to power the unit down just to double check, make sure everything was good. So upon me powering the unit back up, I noticed I was having some connection issues. So my LAN LED is flashing, so I know I have good internet connection, but I noticed my system is not registering. It's not reading either one of the hard drives at this point. So at this point, after doing some troubleshooting and some thinking, I realized I had copied the data over. However, I did not have DSM set up on either of the hard drives at that point. So right now the system really doesn't know what to do. So once again, I hadn't done this part of the process in years. Had to do some investigation on Synology's website. I ended up downloading the Synology Assistant app and went through the process of getting DSM reinstalled on the unit. Okay, so I sped this part of the process up, but at this point it's installing DSM. This part of the process was relatively quickly. Then immediately afterwards, the system goes into a reboot time. A little timer pops up on the screen, and it does take roughly 10 minutes or so for the unit to install, reboot, restart, and come back. So after the unit has rebooted, as you can see here, it is launching essentially the built-in packages, so everything it needs to actually connect remotely, the bare minimums to actually, essentially make the NAS work, the operating system. That is what's going on at this point. And like I said, it's actually launching that. So this part actually surprised me a little bit because I had done some backups from my previous unit. And I was actually starting to get a little bit nervous if everything had been wiped out, because it essentially was asking me to rename the station as well as create an admin account and password. So I did go through this. I used some system defaults. I ended up actually going back and removing this account from the system, but I noticed I didn't show it here, but I was actually trying some of my previous accounts prior to this, and none of those were essentially enabled. So this is almost like doing a fresh start. Didn't really find instructions for this anywhere, but you will have to go through this at least to be able to log back into your system to then get access to your previously set up user profiles. After logging into the system, I'm now able to reset up my quick connect ID. I was able to do that relatively quickly, get back into the system. I'm clearing out some error messages and stuff here, but essentially start to get back to setting up the system configuration. I apologize earlier, I misspoke in the video, but this was the point where I'd actually restore the configuration from a previous backup. All right, so at this point I could see both my drive health, it was good, both drives were green. So it was time for me to actually remove the storage pool 1, which was corrupted. So system prompts you to re-enter your password to make sure that you really want to do this. So I re-entered that information and proceeded with deleting that storage pool. With the corrupted volume removed, it was time to power the unit down and reboot it. And that's what we're doing here. And what you'll see is the unit will power up. We'll get the status light at the top goes solid green, which is good because we have no more error messages. We have LAN connection, and then we have our first disk is lit up green as well. All right, so I'm in the final stretch here. So what I actually had to do is do storage expansion to set up my second drive. So going through the process here, this is sped up quite a bit, but with doing the expansion, that then allows the RAID to get set up. All right, so at this point, just doing one last check, logging into the system, making sure the data storage is good, making sure my volumes are set up, looking at my LEDs, everything is good, and we're wrapping this one up. If you found this video useful, please consider subscribing to the channel and make sure you hit that like button so that more people can get access to this content. Thank you.